Welcome to the MasterMind Library. It is episode 13, and we are on chapter 12, Do-It-Yourself Tranquilizers, which bring peace of mind in the book. So we're doing things a little different today. What I've noticed about the system that I've been using is that they don't allow more than 200 slides. So we were cut off in the middle of chapter 10 or chapter 11. And so I'm using something different now to show the book. And so I'm going to go ahead and make that a little larger. And while I'm doing that, if y'all don't mind liking, subscribing, sharing, commenting, all of that, help me out. Let's get the algorithm moving. Let's get some engagement, right? Jump on in here and let's talk about this material. All right. So let me go ahead and get set up. Move y'all to chapter 12, which is page 210. And we will get started. All right. Let's see. Do-it-yourself tranquilizers. Oh, we're right on the money. All right, let's make this a little smaller. And we'll be able to make moves. Don't want to move on me. That's good. That will work. All right. So, do-it-yourself tranquilizers, which bring peace of mind. Tranquilizer drugs have become so popular during the past few years, bring peace of mind, calmness, and reduce or eliminate nervous symptoms by an umbrella action. Just as an umbrella protects us from the rain, the various tranquilizers erect a psychic screen between us and disturbing stimuli. No one fully understands just how the tranquilizers manage to erect this umbrella, but we do understand why this brings tranquility. Tranquilizers work because they greatly reduce or eliminate our own response to disturbing stimuli. Tranquilizers do not change the environment. The disturbing stimuli are still there. We are still able to recognize them intellectually, but we do not respond to them emotionally. Remember in the chapter on happiness, we said that our own feelings do not depend upon externals, but upon our own attitudes, reactions, and responses. Tranquilizers offer convincing evidence of this fact. In substance, they reduce or tone down our over response to negative feedback. Over response is a habit which can be cured. Let us suppose that as you read this, you are sitting quietly in your den. Suddenly, the telephone rings. From habit and experience, this is a signal or stimulus which you have learned to obey. Without taking thought, so let's move that a little bit. There we go. Without taking thought, without making a conscious decision about the matter, you respond to it. You jump up from your comfortable seat and hurry to the telephone. The outside stimulus has had the effect of moving you. It has changed your mental set and your position, or your self-determined course of action. You were all set to spend an hour sitting quietly and relaxed, reading. You were inwardly organized for this. Now, all this is suddenly changed by your response to the external stimuli in the environment. The point I wish to make is this: you do not have to answer the telephone. You do not have to obey. You can, if you choose, totally ignore the telephone bell. You can, if you choose, continue sitting quietly and relax, maintaining your own original state of organization by refusing to respond to the signal. Get this mental picture clearly in your mind, for it can be quite helpful in overcoming the power of external stimuli to disturb you. See yourself sitting quietly, letting the phone ring, ignoring its signal, unmoved by its command. Although you are aware of it, you no longer mind or obey it. Also, Get clearly in your mind the fact that the outside signal in itself has no power over you, no power to move you. In the past, you have obeyed it, responded to it, purely out of habit. You can, if you wish, form a new habit of not responding. Also notice that your failure to respond does not consist in doing something or making an effort or resisting or fighting, but in doing nothing, in relaxation from doing. You merely relax, ignore the signal, and let its summons go by unheeded. How to condition yourself for equanimity. In much the same way that you automatically obey or respond to the ring of the telephone, we all become conditioned to respond in a certain way to various stimuli in our environment. The word conditioning in psychologic circles grew out of Pavlov's well known experiments where he conditioned a dog to salivate at the sound of a bell by ringing it just before presenting food to the dog. This procedure was repeated many times. First, the sound of the bell. A few seconds later, the appearance of food. The dog learned to respond to the sound of the bell by salivating in anticipation of the food. Originally, the response made sense. The bell signified that food was forthcoming, and the dog got ready by salivating. However, after the process was repeated a number of times, the dog would continue to salivate whenever the bell was rung, whether or not food was immediately forthcoming. The dog had now become conditioned to salivate at the mere sound of the bell. His response made no sense and served no good purpose, but he continued to respond in the same way out of habit. There are a great many bells or disturbing stimuli in our various environmental situations which we have become conditioned to, and which we continue to respond to out of habit, whether or not the response makes any sense. Many people learn to fear strangers, for example, because of parental admonitions to have nothing to do with strange people. Do not accept candy from a stranger. Do not get into a car with a stranger, etc. The response of avoiding strangers serves a good purpose in small children, but many people continue to feel ill at ease and uncomfortable in the presence of any stranger, even when they know that he comes as a friend instead of a foe. Strangers become bells, and the learned response becomes fear, avoidance, and or the desire to run away. Still another person may respond to crowds, closed spaces, open spaces, persons in authority such as the boss, by feelings of fear and anxiety. In each case, the crowd, the closed space, the open space, the boss, etc., act as bells, which say, danger is present, run away, feel afraid, and out of habit, we continue to respond in the accustomed way. We obey the bell. How to extinguish conditioned responses. We can, however, extinguish the conditioned response if we make a practice of relaxing instead of responding. We can, if we wish, just as in the case of the telephone, learn to ignore the bell and continue to sit quietly and let it ring. A key thought that we can carry with us to use whenever we are confronted by any disturbing stimulus is to say to ourselves, the telephone is ringing, but I do not have to answer it. I can just let it ring. This thought will key in to your mental picture of yourself sitting quietly, relaxed, unresponding, doing nothing, letting the telephone ring unheeded, and will act as a trigger or clue to call up the same attitude that you had when letting the phone ring. If you cannot ignore the response, delay it. In the process of extinguishing a conditioning, a person may find it difficult, especially at first, to totally ignore the bell, especially if it is rung unexpectedly. In such instances, you can accomplish the same final result, extinction of the conditioning, by delaying your response. A woman whom we call Mary S. became anxious and ill at ease in the presence of crowds. She was able, by practicing the foregoing technique, to immunize or tranquilize herself against the disturbing stimuli on most occasions. However, occasionally, the desire to run away, to flee, became almost overpowering. Remember Scarlett O'Hara in Gone with the Wind? I asked her. Her philosophy was, I won't worry about that now. I'll worry about that tomorrow. She was able to maintain her inner equilibrium and effectively cope with her environment in spite of war, fire, pestilence, and unrequited love by delaying the response. Delaying the response breaks up and interferes with the automatic workings of conditioning. Counting to 10 when you are tempted to become angry is based upon the same principle and is very good advice if you count slowly and, in fact, actually delay the response rather than merely holding in your angry, shouting, or desk pounding. The response in anger consists of more than shouting or desk beating. The tension in your muscles is a response. You cannot feel the emotion of anger or fear if your muscles remain perfectly relaxed. Therefore, if you can delay feeling angry for 10 seconds, delay responding at all, you can extinguish the automatic reflex. Mary S. did extinguish her conditioned fear of crowds by delaying her response. When she felt that she simply had to run away, she would say to herself, very well, but not this very minute. I will delay leaving the room for 2 minutes. I can refuse to obey for only 2 minutes. Relaxation erects a psychic screen or tranquilizer. It is well to get clearly in your mind the fact that our disturbed feelings, our anger, hostility, fear, anxiety, insecurity are caused by our own responses, not by externals. Response means tension. Lack of response means relaxation. It has been proved in scientific laboratory experiments that you absolutely cannot feel angry, fearful, anxious, insecure, unsafe as long as your muscles remain perfectly relaxed. All these things are, in essence, our own feelings. Tension in muscles is a preparation for action or a getting ready to respond. Relaxation of muscles brings about mental relaxation or a peaceful, relaxed attitude. Thus, relaxation is nature's own tranquilizer, which erects a psychic screen or umbrella between you and the disturbing stimulus. Physical relaxation is a powerful disinhibitor for the same reason. In the last chapter, we learned that inhibition results from excessive negative feedback, or rather, our over response to negative feedback. Relaxation means no response. Therefore, in your daily practice of relaxation, Therefore, in your daily practice of relaxation, you are learning disinhibition, as well as providing yourself with nature's own do it yourself tranquilizer, which you can take with you into your daily activities. Protect yourself from disturbing stimuli by maintaining the relaxed attitude. Build yourself a quiet room in your mind. Men seek treats for themselves, houses in the country, seashores and mountains, and thou too art wont to desire such things very much, said Marcus Aurelius. But this is altogether a mark of the most common sort of men, for it is in thy power whenever thou shalt choose to retire into thyself. For nowhere either with more quiet or more freedom from trouble does a man retire than into his own soul, particularly when he has within him such thoughts that by looking into them he is immediately in perfect tranquility. And I affirm that tranquility is nothing else than the good ordering of the mind. Constantly then give to thyself this retreat and renew thyself. Meditations of Marcus Aurelius, translated by George Long, Peter Popper Press, Mount Vernon, New York. During the last days of World War II, someone commented to President Harry Truman that he appeared to bear up under the stress and strain of the presidency better than any previous president, that the job did not appear to have aged him or sapped his vitality, and that this was rather remarkable, especially in view of the many problems which confronted him as a wartime president. His answer was, I have a foxhole in my mind. He went on to say that just as a soldier retreated into his foxhole for protection, rest, and recuperation, he periodically retired into his own mental foxhole, where he allowed nothing to bother him. All right. Your own decompression chamber. Each of us needs a quiet room inside his own mind, a quiet center within him, like the deep of the ocean that is never disturbed, no matter how rough the waves may become upon the surface. This quiet room within, which is built in imagination, works as a mental and emotional decompression chamber. It depressurizes you from tensions, worry, pressures, stresses, and strains, refreshes you, and enables you to return to your workaday world better prepared to cope with it. It is my belief that each personality does already have a quiet center within, which is never disturbed and is unmoved, like the mathematical point in the very center of a wheel or axle, which remains stationary. What we need to do is to find this quiet center within us and retreat into it periodically for rest, recuperation, and renewed vigor. One of the most beneficial prescriptions that I have ever given patients is the advice to learn to return into this quiet, tranquil center. And one of the best ways that I have found for entering this quiet center is to build for yourself, in imagination, a little mental room. Furnish this room with whatever is most restful and refreshing to you. Perhaps beautiful landscapes, if you like paintings, a volume of your favorite verse, if you like poetry. The colors of the walls are your favorite, pleasant colors, but should be chosen from the restful hues of blue, light green, yellow, gold. The room is plainly and simply furnished. There are no distracting elements. It is very neat and everything is in order. Simplicity, quietness, beauty are the keynotes. It contains your favorite easy chair. From one small window, you can look out and see a beautiful beach. The waves roll in upon the beach and retreat, but you cannot hear them, for your room is very, very quiet. Take as much care in building this room in your imagination as you would in building an actual room. Be thoroughly familiar with every detail. A little vacation every day. Whenever you have a few spare moments during the day, between appointments, riding the bus, retire into your quiet room. Whenever you begin to feel tension mounting or to feel hurried or harried, retire into your quiet room for a few moments. Just a very few minutes taken from a very busy day in this manner will more than pay for themselves. It is not time wasted, but time invested. Say to yourself, I'm going to rest a bit in my quiet room. Then, in imagination, see yourself climbing the stairs to your room. Say to yourself, I am now climbing the stairs. Now I am opening the door. Now I am inside. In imagination, notice all the quiet, restful details. See yourself sitting down in your favorite chair, utterly relaxed and at peace with the world. Your room is secure. Nothing can touch you here. There is nothing to worry about. You left your worries at the foot of the stairs. There are no decisions to be made here. No hurry, no bother. You need a certain amount of escapism. Yes, this is escapism. So is escapism. Carrying an umbrella in the rain is escapism. Building yourself an actual house where you can retreat from the weather and the elements is escapism. And taking a vacation is escapism. Our nervous system needs a certain amount of escapism. It needs some freedom and protection from the continual bombardment of external stimuli. We need yearly vacations where we physically vacate the old scenes, the old duties, the old responsibilities. Get away from it all. Your soul and your nervous system need a room for rest, recuperation, and protection every bit as much as your physical body needs a physical house. And for the same reasons, your mental quiet room gives your nervous system a little vacation every day. For the moment, you mentally vacate your workaday world of duties, responsibilities, decisions, pressures, and get away from it all by mentally retiring into yourself. No pressure chamber. In retiring into your no pressure chamber. Pictures are more impressive. Pictures are more impressive to your automatic mechanism than words. Particularly so, if the picture happens to have a strong symbolic meaning. One mental picture that I have found very effective is the following. On a visit to Yellowstone National Park, I was waiting patiently for the geyser, Old Faithful, which goes off approximately every hour. Suddenly, the geyser erupted in a great mass of hissing steam, like a gigantic boiler whose safety plug had blown out. A small boy standing near me asked his father, "What makes it do that?" "Well," said his father, "I guess old Mother Earth is like the rest of us. She builds up a certain amount of pressure and every once in a while just has to blow off steam to stay healthy." Wouldn't it be wonderful, I thought to myself, if we humans could blow off steam harmlessly like that when emotional pressures build up inside us? I didn't have a geyser nor a steam valve in the top of my head, but I did have an imagination. So I began to use this mental picture when I would retire into my mental quiet room. I would remember Old Faithful and form a mental picture of emotional steam and pressure coming out the top of my head and evaporating harmlessly. Try this mental picture on yourself when you're wrought up or tense. The idea of blowing off steam and blowing your top have powerful associations built into your mental machinery. All right. Clear your mechanism before undertaking a new problem. If you are using an adding machine or an electronic computer, you must clear the machine of previous problems before undertaking a new one. Otherwise, parts of the old problem or the old situation carry over into the new situation and give you a wrong answer. This exercise of retiring for a few moments into your quiet room in your mind can accomplish the same sort of clearance of your success mechanism. And for that reason, it is very helpful to practice it in between tasks, situations, environments which require different moods, mental adjustments, or mental sets. Common examples of carryover or failure to clear your mental machinery are the following. A business executive carries his workaday worries and his workaday mood home with him. All day he has been hurried, aggressive, and set to go. Perhaps he has felt a bit of frustration, which tends to make him irritable. He stops working physically when he goes home, but he carries with him a residue of his aggressiveness, frustration, hurry, and worry. He is still set to go and cannot relax. He is irritable with his wife and family. He keeps thinking about problems at the office although there is nothing he can do about them. Insomnia, rudeness are often emotional carryovers. Many people carry their troubles to bed with them when they should be resting. Mentally and emotionally, they are still trying to do something about a situation at a time when doing is not in order. All during the day, we have need of many different types of emotional and mental organization. You need a different mood and mental organization for talking with your boss and talking with a customer. And if you have just talked with an irate or irritable customer, you need a change in set before talking with a second customer. Otherwise, emotional carryover from the one situation will be inappropriate in dealing with the other. One large company found that one of their executives unknowingly answered the telephone in a harsh, angry, hostile tone. The phone rings in the midst of a knockdown, drag out conference, or while the executive is enmeshed in frustration and hostility for one reason or another. And his angry, hostile tone of voice surprises and offends the innocent caller. This company directed all executives to pause 5 seconds and smile before picking up the phone. Emotional carryover causes accidents. Insurance companies and other agencies which do research on the cause of accidents have found that emotional carryover causes many automobile accidents. If the driver has just had a spat with his wife or his boss, if he has just experienced frustration, or if he has just left a situation which called for aggressive behavior, he is much more likely to have an accident. He carries over into his driving attitudes and emotions which are inappropriate. He is really not angry at the other drivers. He is somewhat like a man who wakes up in the morning from a dream in which he experienced extreme anger. He realizes that the injustice heaped upon him happened only in a dream, but he is still angry. Period. Fear can carry over in the same manner. Calmness carries over too. But the really helpful thing to know about all this is that friendliness, love, peace, quiet, and calmness also carry over. It is impossible, as we have said, to experience or feel either anger, fear, excuse me, to or feel either fear, anger, or anxiety while completely relaxed, quiet, and composed. Retiring into your quiet room thus becomes an ideal clearance mechanism for emotions and moods. Old emotions evaporate and disappear. At the same time, you experience calmness, peacefulness, and a feeling of well being, which will also carry over into whatever activities immediately follow. Your quiet time wipes the slate clean, so to speak, clears the machine, and gives you a clean new page for the environment which is to follow. I practice the quiet time I practice the quiet time both immediately before and after surgery. Surgery requires a high degree of concentration, calmness, control. It would be disastrous to carry over into the surgical situation feelings of hurry, aggressiveness, or personal worries. Therefore, I clear my mental machinery by spending a few moments completely relaxed in my quiet room. On the other hand, the high degree of concentration, purpose, and obliviousness to surroundings, which are so necessary to the surgical situation, would be most inappropriate to a social situation, whether the social situation be an interview in my office or a grand ball. Therefore, upon leaving surgery, I also make it a point to spend a couple of minutes in my quiet room to clear the decks, so to speak, for a new type of action. Build your own psychic uh, build your own psychic umbrellas. By practicing the techniques in this chapter, you can build your own psychic umbrellas, which will screen out disturbing stimuli, bring you more peace of mind, and enable you to perform better. Above all, keep in mind and hammer it home to yourself that the key to the matter of whether you are disturbed or tranquil, fearful or composed, is not the external stimulus, whatever it may be, but your own response and reaction. Your own response is what makes you feel fearful, anxious, insecure. If you do not respond at all, but just let the telephone ring, it is impossible for you to feel disturbed, regardless of what is happening around you. Be like the promontory against which the waves continually break, but it stands firm and tames the fury of the water around it, said Marcus Aurelius. The 91st Psalm is a vivid word picture of a man who experiences the feelings of safety and security in the very midst of terrors of the night. Arrows that fly by day, plagues, intrigues, snares of enemies, danger, 10,000 fall at his side. Because he has found the secret place within his own soul and is unmoved. That is, he does not emotionally react or respond to the scare bells in his environment. Emotionally, he totally ignores them, much as William James recommends totally ignoring evil and unhappy facts to feel happy, and as James T. Mangan recommends totally ignoring adverse situations in the environment to feel poised. You are basically an actor. not a reactor. Throughout this book, we have spoken of reacting and responding appropriately to environmental factors. Man, however, is not primarily a reactor, but an actor. We do not merely react and respond willingly. We willy nilly. We do not merely react and respond willy nilly to whatever environmental factors may be present, like a ship that goes whichever way the wind happens to blow. As goal striving beings, we first act. We set our own goal. We set our own goal, determine our own course. Then, within the context of this goal striving structure, we respond and react appropriately. That is, in a manner which will further our progress and serve our own ends. If responding and reacting to negative feedback does not take us further down the road to our own goal or serve our ends, then there is no need to respond at all. And if response of any kind gets us off course or works against us, then no response is the appropriate response. Your emotional stabilizer. In almost any goal striving situation, our own inner stability is in itself an important goal to maintain. We must be sensitive to negative feedback data, which advises us when we are off course so that we can change direction and go forward. But at the same time, we must keep our own ship afloat and stable. Our ship must not be tossed and rocked and perhaps sunk by every passing wave or even a serious storm. As Prescott Lecky expressed it, the same attitude must be maintained in spite of environmental changes. Our letting the telephone ring is a mental attitude which keeps our stability. It keeps us from being tossed about, knocked off course, or shaken up by every wave or ripple in the environment. Stop fighting straw men. Still another type of inappropriate response which causes worry, insecurity, and tension is the bad habit of trying to respond emotionally to something which doesn't exist except in our imaginations. Not satisfied with over responding to actual minor stimuli in the actual environment, many of us create straw men in our imaginations and emotionally respond to our own mental pictures. In addition to these negatives which actually exist in the environment, we impose our own negatives. This or that may happen. What if such and such happens? When we worry, we form mental pictures of what may exist in the environment, of what may happen. We then respond to these negative pictures as if they were present reality. Remember, your nervous system cannot tell the difference between a real experience and one that is vividly imagined. Doing nothing is the proper response to an unreal problem. Again, you can tranquilize yourself against this sort of disturbance, not by something you do, but by something you don't do. Your refusal to respond. As far as your emotions are concerned, the proper response to worry pictures is to totally ignore them. Live emotionally in the present moment. Analyze your environment. Become more aware of what actually exists in your environment and respond and react spontaneously to that. In order to do this, you must give all your attention to what is happening now. You must keep your eye on the ball. Then your response will be appropriate and you will have no time to notice or respond to a fictitious environment. Your first aid kit. Carry these thoughts with you as a sort of first aid kit. Inner disturbance, or the opposite of tranquility, is nearly always caused by over response, a too sensitive alarm reaction. You create a built-in tranquilizer or psychic screen between yourself and the disturbing stimulus when you practice not responding, letting the phone ring. You cure old habits of overresponse. You extinguish old conditioned reflexes when you practice delaying the habitual, automatic, and unthinking response. Relaxation is nature's own tranquilizer. Relaxation is non response. Learn physical relaxation by daily practice. Then, when you need to practice non response in daily activities, just do what you're doing when you relax. Use the quiet room in your mind Let's see. Let's go ahead and move that up. Use the quiet room in your mind technique both as a daily tranquilizer to tone down nervous response and to clear your emotional mechanism of carryover emotions, which would be inappropriate in a new situation. Stop scarring yourself to death with your own mental pictures. Stop fighting straw men. Emotionally, respond only to what actually is, here and now, and ignore the rest. Practice exercise. Creating your imagination a vivid mental picture of yourself sitting quietly, composed, unmoved, letting your telephone ring as outlined earlier in this chapter. Then, in your daily activities, carry over the same peaceful, composed, unmoved attitude by remembering this mental picture. Say to yourself, I am letting the telephone ring whenever you are tempted to obey or respond to some fear bell or anxiety bell. Next, use your imagination to practice sorts of situations. See yourself sitting quietly and unmoved while an associate rants and raves. See yourself going through your daily tasks one by one, calmly, composed, unhurried, in spite of the pressures of a busy day. See yourself maintaining the same constant, stable course in spite of the various hurry bells and pressure bells in your environment. See yourself in various situations which have in the past upset you. Only now you remain settled, poised by not responding. Your spiritual thermostat. Your physical body has a built in thermostat, itself a servo mechanism, which maintains your inner physical temperature at a steady 98.6 degrees, regardless of the temperature in the environment. The weather around you may be freezing cold or 110 degrees, yet your body maintains its own climate, a steady 98.6. It is able to function properly in the environment because it does not take on itself the climate of the environment. Cold or hot, it maintains its own. You also have a built-in spiritual thermostat, which enables you to maintain to an emotional climate and atmosphere in spite of the emotional weather around you. Many people do not use this spiritual thermostat because they do not know it is there. They do not know such a thing is possible, and they do not understand that they do not have to take on the outward climate. Yet, your spiritual thermostat is just as necessary for emotional health and well-being as your physical thermostat is for physical health. Begin using it now by practicing the techniques in this chapter. And that concludes chapter 12, Do It Yourself Tranquilizers Which Bring Peace of Mind. This material is so valuable. Learning how to dehypnotize yourself, whether it be you or anyone else, but learning how to dehypnotize is so powerful. Learning how to free ourselves from the quote unquote Pavlov bell. This is so powerful. It gives us the opportunity to move down a path that is actually for us instead of going down a path that has been constructed for us, right? So give some thought to what path you may be going down and if you may need to dehypnotize yourself and use this material. This book on Amazon probably costs like 10 bucks, maybe $20 or something like that, right? But it gives you the keys to healing yourself. Many people in melanation talk about how there aren't many options for healing from the effects of slavery and the effects of Jim Crow and the civil rights movement and all these systematic spiritual warfares that have been waged against the melanated people of America. And the answers to what we need to do to heal us are in books just like this. Pick it up and read it. And if you don't want to pick it up and read it, go to FHTII YouTube and play these videos because I'm reading the whole book for everybody, and those videos are going to be up there. They're going to be up there for as long as YouTube is in existence in the live section. And there's probably going to be 15 or 16 different videos for this book, the preface through all of the chapters. and the information is there. But what we need to heal in melanation, they are literally in these books. And the most important book that the information is in for us to heal is called the Book of Life, the the Akashic Records. And the way to read that book is meditation. Now, tomorrow, 8 a.m., we're about to jump back on it. Okay. And we are going to hit chapter 13, how to turn a crisis into a creative opportunity. All right. Hey, 8 a.m. We're here. You don't have to necessarily watch me because you might be at work. You could just put on the Bluetooths. Listen. Maybe you play it over a speaker or something while you're building a house, or you're doing electrical work, or you're doing plumbing work, right? Maybe you do homeschooling with your children, right? This is some good material to play for them. And then maybe they could write a book report or something like that, right? But we've got to take material like this, right? And we've got to use it to our benefit. A lot of our brothers out here may say, bro, you reading this European material, you reading this Western stuff. Yeah, I am. And I'm going to read material from the African schools of thought and the Chinese schools of thought. But I'm starting with the Western school of thought because in America, the people who could be considered part of melanation, Hebrew Israelites, Moors, Black Christians, Black people, African Americans, Negroes, coloreds, whatever names that is used, right? The vast majority of our people in this nation have become highly Europeanized. So to get out of the highly Europeanized space, we have to go to the European doctrine because that is where they have put the answers for their own people. Not necessarily for us, but they put the answers there for their people. Now we've got to go there and find the answers so that we can free ourselves. This very last chapter, we just read chapter 12, the DIY tranquilizers, which bring peace of mind. He tells us how to dehypnotize ourselves in this. He literally goes over Pavlov's bell experiment and how to free a person who has been captured by that spell, by that experiment, by that magic trick, by that conditioning, right? So take the time, man. Take the time, ladies and gentlemen, to go over this material. And the most powerful thing that you could do, seriously, the most powerful thing you could do is read this with your children. Not just this book, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. The Art of Seduction. The Art of War by Sun Tzu. The Light of Egypt by Thomas Bergoni. The Holy Koran, prepared by Noble Drew Ali. The Teachings of Buddha. It doesn't matter which book. It doesn't make a difference. If you read it to your children, they will have truth. And it says in the good book that everybody respects, called the Bible, that the truth shall make you free. So tomorrow, 8 a.m., we are going to hit chapter 13. And let's see again what that's called. How to turn a crisis into a creative opportunity. And obviously, as y'all can see, it's on the screen. So y'all be blessed. And as y'all know, after I finish reading every day, I got to take my daughter to school.